the
This
data
conference
and
will now be
from
recorded.
databases, from databases how we need to pick the data, and again we just go through the joining different kind of joins available, and also how we are going to load the data into the .csv, and what if we got the data in a two different formats like uh, Excel file as well as the DB. So today we were not going to discuss about a few more things like what if we're getting data from Excel file, which is I mean we'll be having a different files over here. So we need to load those data into one table or a schema. So it's something like you have the list of files. Say suppose just create one folder here, file list, and you will be having a different kind of files. So let's we can take the yesterday's files itself. Let's see how many columns. Six columns will be having here. So all are having six columns. So suppose you are getting data from multiple files, and you want to load those file data. So what you will do? So generally what we can normally do is in our last time process, when there is an Excel file, what we basically do is first component, like since it is a .csv, right? File input delimited, okay, and then tmap. Generally, I mean, I advise guys to use the tmap in between, even if it is a simple pass as well, because for few cases like sometimes you need to discard a few columns, and those columns you can discard here, and sometimes you need to like write a small kind of expressions and all. So once you build your jobs and all, again if they wanted to remove few things, you can't even remove it if you directly map some source to the target, if there is a direct mapping. So always prefer tmap to join them. Let's go with the t log first. So this is a simple thing, like let's configure this file list will be having. So this is a .csv file, and we all know that the separator is a delimited file is a pipe we are using as a delimiter for this, and then the header is one. Okay, so advanced, there's no such advanced line we need to do. So trim all columns means it will trim all the columns. हाँ, हाँ. Just add on the freelance here. Yes, we can copy paste them. So the simple thing for the lazy guys is just copy this one. Okay, I just copy that column names in spite of writing all those things. Just pasted it. So let's check out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 awards collection. So I copied them. So I just kept as a table. Let we can go since it is a single, right? If you want to show it as a vertical way, you can just print it. Just wanna going to execute it. So if you are having a single file, right? So what you can do is like you can just simply pass it like by using t file input delimiter, and we configured here the file name, the path of that particular file, and then delimiter. I mean delimiter, the pipe delimiter we are using for this. I think is like the same thing. Like we need to provide the delimiter here, and then header we need to provide, and then the separator, row separator. See, sometimes you will be having a different kind of row separator as per your requirement. So something like row or something, row ID or something. If you wanna going to use, so depends upon the business requirement or the data how you are getting there. You need to give that row separator, record separator here, and then field separator. If you wish, whatever that delimiter we are getting, you can give that. And say suppose a few more are coming in that picture, then on the time you just click on like a few more characters you want to escape that, and you can just escape that particular character here. Okay, if you are having single file, this is the form. So again you want to load two more files from that. What you will do, the general cases, I mean generally we think like this, like okay, only the thing is like we need to change this path. Let's say just change it. File name only we are changing. You will execute, then you will get all the data like see total 8 fields, and then above one is returning single field. Basically you will just end up with what if you are having n number of files are there. So for one file you did is fine, for the second file again you configure the same, and you keep on adding this format, which is not good enough, right? So in order to skip those activities, just there is one more component in the tail end called t file list. So what it will do is you need to give only the folder where you are having all your files, and that particular file mask you need to provide, so that it will pick the data automatically from that particular one from that particular location, and it will do the stuff. So whatever we have done here, right? The same way we will do in this T file list also. The same process it will do, but what just makes it different is just uh, just look into some location, the folder location, and then it will pass the field, I mean the particular file details one by one. It will pick all the files, it will refer or it will point out all the files in a particular folder, and it will pass over to the next component one by one. So that what will happen once you got the settings right, this file name and all, so it will be pretty easy for you to process this, right? So it's having, it will ask you for the directory where that file is located. All the files, list of files are available, and then file list type is sometimes you need to just look into the for under that particular directory you need to look into the directories, and sometimes you end up with you want files as well as the directory to get copied from the, I mean you need to refer that particular directories, or you need to refer files as well. Then you just click on these items. So since we are using wi-fi, and again if you have the subdirectories also you want to wish, then you can grab that, case sensitive or not. So if you want to just show up like generate the error, there is a no, if there is a no file, then you can click on that, and then file mask, there you need to where, I mean which kind of files you need to pick. Say suppose since we are in that particular directory, we are having .csv files. What if you having if you put a star mark, what will happen? It will pick all the files. So say suppose it is having Excel and XML, all the files, and it will pick all the files, no matter what kind of files it is. So it is just order by how you need to retrieve that. The modified date, by file size or the file name, or by default. By default, it will pick ascending. So exclude is nothing but sometimes see, as I said earlier, like you are having .txt files and .csv files, and you want to exclude the .txt files, then you just mention that particular one and you can take out. So basically this one we use it like say suppose same directory you're using for all the inputs. Say today we got we process the data, and again we and again in the same directory we the source file, tomorrow also we got the new source coming into picture in that same directory. So what you will do, you should have some sort of a denotion or something. What you will do is you just give some sort of exclude here. You just exclude some like whatever you process the data, right? Once you process yesterday you process the data, you just rename it to processor underscore or something. It's also a .csv, .txt, or .xls or XML, whatever it is. But you just denote it like once the file has been processed, you just make it some symbolic representation, and you can give a small flagging to it like a processed or something, so that it won't pick up. Say for example, you're having this one. Say yesterday it was processed. Say if it is something like the date 28 10 2019, right? I mean basically we'll pick with the date, or else what if we are not getting the date, something like a daily data we are getting. Say suppose this is how the client is passing us. So once you process that particular file, you just make it like 29 10 2019 or something. So even if you keep, you need to just mention like today it's fine. What if we got same data like the third day we got the data like same daily file you got. Again, if you got this data, I mean 1 day is fine, 2 days is fine. What if again we got this data on the third day? So there should be a differentiate, right? You should not give the date again. You can't exclude this date. So there should be something. So what I will do is like once I process it, just give some.
एक मिनट चल मैं एक बार बात करना पड़ा
So see, so even if you're having this, right? I just some flag I can give here.
केड़ा गल असना
So the one which is starting with the processor underscore the star, whatever it is. So it won't pick these two files. So as every time when you just complete your process, you just rename it to something like some sort of a flagging so that it won't pick. So on that situations and scenarios, you can go ahead that use file mask. I mean it's it's for Windows environment. If you're using, then by default itself it will take a format file path only. So no need to worry about it. Okay, let's go into the scenario. Or, this is what the file, I mean the directory name, and then so you will be having three files here. I just selected only star. Let's see what it will do. Okay, so just look on that. If you think like I can just directly pass to another component, it possible here since for these uh, components, if you just right click on that, you will getting iteration or main. You will get three options for the row connection. Either it could be you can reject the data, or you can iterate it, or you can connect as a main flow. So here it's only iteration, so it's not possible. See, you just click on this. If you just go, just look on this arrow mark or the pointer, which shows us there is no possibility of connection between this t file list and t log. So what you can do is there should be some component which you connect us in between them. So just so the Talend has provided as two more components called t flow to iterate and then t iterate to flow. This is the iteration. See, there is no possibility. See, you can no connection, right? I mean, the name itself it shows like flow to iterate. So what are the flow you are getting? This is a main flow. So from the flow, it will iterate the data. Flow to iterate. So what are the flow you are getting from the input? It will iterate it. Record by record, it will say. So here you are getting the iteration. That means record by record you are getting. So you can't able to like iterate it, right? So that iteration it will make it as a single flow. So just kept it. So here T iterative flow will come into picture when you wanted to like just pass the data to some other component. But if it is coming as a iteration, then on those situations, on those scenarios, this T flow to iterate will come into picture. So when you are expecting few kind of iteration in the input, then you just make it use of this t iterate to flow component. It's a simple component. It's having only two columns. As we just look into the t flow to iterate, that one more component I showed you. So it will do like what are the flow it is coming. Say suppose from file input file delimiter we are getting this, then that one we can just connect it to this component. So it will, even this one also will pass like the iteration, like record by record it will pass till it whatever the data it's getting, it will take every data, but it will pass it to the subsequent component as a iteration. So this component it will take as a iteration as an input, and if you just look into the row connection between these subsequent the corresponding components, it's a row only. So connected. So you will be having like you already connected here. The folder path you mentioned, the file mask you mentioned. Use global expression file mask per execution. So if you want to use a Perl kind of regular expressions, you just exclude it. So that you can write your regular expressions here. So in the forward classes we just discuss about how we can go ahead with a regular expression kind of things, like if you're having like string as well as some the numbers in that particular files. So you need to import, or you need to consider only those files, then you can check that and you can write your regular expressions. So yeah, so what exactly we are just looking? So we are having this. So since if you just look into that in our previous mapping, what we did is we need a file name here, and then we need a directory path where the particular file is, and also we need to look like what is that particular extension of that particular file. So this T file list will provide the list of files in that particular directory, and also it will give each file it will iterate, as I said earlier. It will iterate one by one record, one by one file as a records, so that, and also it will iterate the properties like the file name and the extension and what kind of file is there, and what is that particular file path, and all these stuff it will provide. So I just file name I taken, file path I had taken, yes. So the value, so once you have given that, right, I have given the column names here, the one whatever we have written, right. So those column names will come, will automatically get added into this mapping field. So these two I have given, and also if you want the directory name as well. So three things I have given here. So copy it, saved it. So just look a little. So the thing is like you need to give the value. So you need to get some sort of a value. Do you find any connection between that? Do you find any columns over here? No, right? So, so the Talend itself giving powerful kind of variables which are involved in that each and every component. So in order to, so as I said, like the file name, everything it will give, right. How we can get those variables, and just simply control and then space, and then we just t file list. So these are the files, I mean the variables that the t file list will throw to you. Just current file name, and then field directory of that particular current file directory, the extension, what is the extension of that file, then current file path, and the error message, and the number of that particular file. See, you just click on that simply single time, then it will give the complete description on the left side. So current file directory, the extension, whether it is .csv or .xls, the file path, and the error message. Okay, as of now, just we just go with the, 1 by 1. So directly I just get file list, file path. So file name, file path, and then directory, and so file extension also I had taken here. So I just wanted to know which kind of file it is. File list. So basically you just required here file name, the path, file path you want, and file name you want, and then directory. These three are the major things. And the file can, which how many files, I mean which file you're parsing. If you want you can, and if you want the extension also, that particular, if you don't know which kind of files you're getting, that time you just use a file extension as well. Let's click on this. So so just have a look on this. We got the file information, like the file name is the first file name which it picked is in a join, and then the file path it mentions, and also the directory name, and the file count, I mean which file it is, the first file, the file extension is .csv. So if say suppose if you have one more file over there, so I'm not I didn't check anything there, right? Say the sample txt, the fourth file, and then the file is, the extension for this file is txt file. So I kept txt here. Let's, we can exclude these txt files. Use exclude. So it got excluded. So we got only three files are here. One, two, and then three. Right? So we covered that as well. Okay, now so you got everything here, right? Which is available to just change that. Simply what I can do is like just Okay, so we are getting everything as a iteration. So there is something like it is making as a main. Okay, so again, if you want to connect it is to the input file, so there should be one more component should be there, so which can just make us the flow into the iteration, right? So just here we can just call back our t flow to iterate. So we can able to connect. See, we can remove this t log row actually, but just kept it only to just showcase our details here. So only that for particular reason I just kept it, and then you just iterate it, right? So the t flow iteration will not do anything like how we just iterated the values in a t iterate to flow. So it won't do anything. Only the stuff it will do is like it will whatever like in the t iterative flow, how we just define like these are the input, these are the outputs. I mean iteration which field, since it is not direct mapping, it is taking record by record. So each and every record, each and every file it will pick the values are default, so that what we'll do is we need to configure it. We need to give the variable name as well as the value of that particular corresponding value for that particular column we need to mention here. But here t flow to iterate, we are I mean it won't take any, we are not a wanna going to configure anything here. Yes, if you want you can just customizely you just configure it. See, out of all these variables, say suppose you want to use only one, two, three, only the three variables. If you wanna going to use, you can just configure only those three variables. Just you have to just uncheck this use default key and value, then you just keep on adding. So if you just look into that, it will just ask you what you just exactly wanted to add here, and then key value you need to give, like row 3 dot file name you need to mention here. Sorry, the value is already the file name. Then you need to give the key name as key name is nothing but the variable name. So how it is like the column name, right? The same way the variable name, and the value is nothing but the value you are getting from this row 3 now. Just use a default, but no. So if you want to just catch the statistics, you can catch here. So these are there. I mean, what are the fields you're having? These are get mapped to this corresponding component t flow to iterate, so that these fields will get iterated on each and every particular record. So here, just look on this. Oh, okay. Uh, Here is the magic. So you already define everything. So what you need is just delete it everything. T flow to iterate, controls for space, and then you will get list of variables, and then there you just write a few words or few letters of particular stating of that particular component, then you will get all this list of things. See the directory name, and then error message, the file count, file extension, file name, file path. So the file path itself, I mean the entire file path you will get, right? Yeah. So we just selected the current file path, the header. That's what particular file path I just mentioned here. And if we want file name, I just use it. You flow to iterate current file name, file name, extension, the file extension. Okay, you flow to iterate file count. So just wanted to know like how many files and what are that particular file we processed and what is the value of that particular file. Everything I wanted to know. So just copy this. So just have a look on this. So join the file name and then path of that particular file, and then the directory of that file, and then count the first file and CSV it is. Since it is inner join, we have only one record, right? So that particular record got displayed here. So so if you just look into that, this is the values. As if you just remember that in a join we kept a condition of 29, so only one record came into picture, this one. And if you just look into this another file, this is file rejection. So this is the second file and CSV, then file name is inner join reject. And then if you just look into the pasting of this file name details and all, inner join reject, if you just look on this, this will be the same for each and everything. Only the concern like you need to look into these values. There should be a total 8 records, right? So yeah, for this the output rejects, it should be a 4. This is the third file count, right? So it's a 4. So this is basically, this component is very much powerful when you are just going to extract the data from the files, when you just come across multiple files. Like in the few cases what you will do is you need to download the file from URL, and you need to keep them in some particular directory, and then daily you need to just process it, and incrementally you need to load the data in your system, Then the later classes, yes, of course, we can just go with the incremental loading as well. So today, so far, we discussed a much more component like a file list and how we just going to load the data from a single file.csv file to the some other subsequent target systems. Since the different databases, since for database point of view, is we are used only MySQL here, and also we just look into a scenario where we come across like you want to load the data multiple from different kind of files. So that that time you need to write multiple mappings in spite of instead of writing multiple mappings, you're using a simple powerful component of the file list so that you could just pick all the file details and the path details and the file name, directory name, and then location, and then what sort of extract extension of that particular file and everything it will pick. Based on that, we just process the data, and in between, in while processing that, we use it the iteration flow like t iterative flow. Since the data which we are getting from that, it's coming as an iteration, so we need some healthy component in between, so which will just extract the data like which will take the data from T file list. So the combination of these two T iterative flow and T file list together, we just formed one phase of extracting the data record by record. Once we got it in a flow, so again we need to just push it to input element like a T file input delimited will be having, since all the files which we got is they are something like CSV files, so that we need to feed this output which we are getting from D file list to some other input component. So on that situation, on the scenario, we used one more component, powerful component if to iterate, which will iterate the records by giving them standardized Talend inbuilt variables, key and value. So if you want to just default, I mean you can use a default, and you can negligible like whatever the variables, output variables you want from t flow to iterate you can use, and you can discard the remaining variable as well. In this flow we just use it, we added like we use it all the available variables here, so that we just know what I mean how many uh, which I mean what sort of variables it will give us. So from that we just does done our normal flow. And if you just look into the previous mentions and all like we use it to just build a single job for one file processing when we came across a three or four different files with the same structure. So what we do is like we use it to just we need to build multiple kind of these mappings. So instead of just excluding that multiple headaches by creating and ending up with different situations, so we just use it at the single flow, which just allows to just give all the information without losing anything, but everything will go with the systematic of dynamical like with variable patching. So here only the thing we need to configure is in T file list, we need to configure the location of the files where these files are residing, and then file mask. Only these two items we need to configure it, and the rest of the things nothing to do with. So only and again you just need to mention here the file path and then delimitation. That's it you need to mention, and remaining everything will be taken care by the mapping itself. So any queries guys? Subhash and Tarun?
No, Hamid. Good.
Yeah, thanks. So basically, you just this kind sort of we come across in our projects and all, right. In spite of extracting data from databases and all, the client will send some feed URLs. Sometimes he will give some XML feed URL, sometimes RSS feed, sometimes they will give us a REST APIs or something. So we need to extract data from them, and then we need to just process it the file by file. So in those situations, and also, I mean, when you are handling a multiple kind of files from the folder and all, it's I mean, you can handle this, and also just make sure that these two components are very pretty much powerful in your mapping. So yeah, that's it. So that's what for the demo today. I mean, the session. So yeah, Subhash, if you have any queries,
No, not from my side.
yeah, that's great. So, yeah, that's it. I mean, pretty much we just covered it. Since I just going forward with multiple components we are just using in each and every day, so that we can go with a fast forward track without going a simple single component, in spite of just going with a single more component. So which will just last our waste, and I mean time will be get lost. So that I just covered up maximum components so that we can go ahead with the multiple scenarios and all. Okay. Okay, guys. I mean, that's it for today's session. So we'll discuss a few more things the tomorrow session, few sort of filtration and all. Hopefully we can look into that some other component tomorrow. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Shall we close the session for today?
Sure. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Thank you.